All right, going to call the regular meeting of council to order for Tuesday, August 6, 2024. Take approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the August 6, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Recommendation. Councillor Dussault.
That the July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury. Any errors or omissions, council? Councillor Julik.
I just see that we have a second set of minutes on our wicket that have been changed
Yeah, amended minutes.
or amended.
Yeah. Which would be what we're presented with.
Oh, right, because it went online. Perfect.
Any errors or omissions, staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Okay, on to delegations. Jenna, McQueen, and is Clair via Zoom? Okay, thanks. Clair, Lenouvel, and Dr. Charles Helm. I think I got in trouble last time, so I'll do it this time. In attendance to present information on the Type 2 Diabetes and Remissions Project. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Jenna McQueen. I'm acting as the Community Project Coordinator for the Type 2 Diabetes and Remission project that we're doing right here in Tumbler Ridge. It's an exciting program or project that is happening only in 2 communities within BC. It is funded by the Health Excellence of Canada, and we're working with the Institute of, Practices Therapeutic Nutrition, the IPTN. And the Rural Coordination Center of BC, and it's just a trial kind of project at this stage to get a program in the community that initiates and helps people with type 2 diabetes, fast track by doing a food first approach. So we've been working with community members to kind of create this plan. And so we thought we'd come here to let you know what we're doing and what stage we're in. So we'll go on with Dr. Helm and then Dr. Lenouvel, and she will kind of present on what we're doing. Dr. Lenouvel is the head physician on this project that actually initiated this project for the community. So we'll let her present on the great work that's been being done.
So I just want to thank you also for the opportunity, and also to make it clear, we're not actually requesting anything from council at this point. We're just wanting to let you know what we're up to and to answer any questions that you might have. But to seeing it from a very broad perspective, as I see it, there are 3 kind of scourges or plagues at the moment, not just in Tumbler Ridge, but in the Peace and BC, Canada, and the world, really. And the one is type 2 diabetes, the second one is mental health, and the third one is dementia. These are all things that are increasing tremendously. And despite all the really good things that are being done, as a whole, we're losing ground against these things. So something different has to be done. And that's what we're up to here. But I also just wanted to let you know, many of you have been involved with us in this journey to try and become a division of family practice in the South Peace. We are now a division, as of a few months ago. We're the first division in BC in the last 10 years to form. And through that division, we're trying to get a primary care network going in the South Peace. All indications are that our application has been approved or accepted. We're waiting for the formal letter. We haven't quite got it yet, but it's looking really good. And what that will do will enable us to create or to advertise and try to fill for net new positions, allied health professionals in the South Peace, some working throughout the whole region, some specifically for Tumbler Ridge, for Chetwynd, for Dawson Creek. So we're actually living in a province, and I'm very grateful to be living in BC because we actually have the ability, well, the government gives us the ability as physicians and others who are really keen to make a difference. It's not just the top down where you're told this is how it's happening. It's actually, you get through creating divisions and primary care networks, we can influence and make things better. So that's what a whole bunch of us are trying to do. I also just really want to give credit to my colleagues. You know, we've had 5 medical students here this year, each for a month. It's unheard of. It's just so much more than before. And next year, we're going to have a medical student for a full 6 months doing their training in Tumbler Ridge. And I can tell you that the way to try and encourage people to relocate to Tumbler Ridge is to have them doing their student days here. So these are all things. You're not going to see immediate payback from these things, but a few years down the road, this is when you're going to see these things happen. We also have a resident, a medical resident, that's been assigned to Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge, and she is dividing her time between the 2 communities. We've got a problem in terms of accommodation for her and where to put her up. And Councillor Julik, I know, has been speaking with her about possible solutions for that, and we're going to talk to CONUMA tomorrow about solutions for that. But this is just incredible because she can help our physicians take the load with call and things like that. So there are just so many really wonderful things happening, and Tumbler Ridge is one of the very few communities in northern BC with a full complement of doctors, and now, due to a new hire, there will be a full complement of nurses. So up until now, all the diversions have happened because there's been a shortage of nurses. That should be gone with a full complement of nurses. Tumbler Ridge physicians have been supporting other communities to stop them from going on diversion. So we really are in a position of strength, and we're helping the rest of the region. The other thing I wanted to do, which was something, the medical conference we put on in collaboration with Jenna and the Geopark, but I really wanted to thank Mayor and Council for supporting us with funding the feast, which was an amazing event. The conference itself, we had 60 registrants, we had over 120 people. It's the only one of its kind in British Columbia. And there are 3 things that you want to do. You want to put on a good academic program. In Tumbler Ridge, we want to give them good field trips so they see what a cool place it is. And you want to do networking, and the networking is very important. So at the feast, there was just so much, introducing Mayor Dober, for example, to Lisa Risvold from CONUMA, just as an example, and having them chat and work out areas of common interest. These are the things, this is face-to-face. This is why you put on a conference. Predictably, there were some new dinosaur tracks identified. But yeah, Mayor Dober came out both evenings with a councillor, and we had excellent representation from your council at the feast. So these things are really important. Mayor Dober says next year he wants to come for the entire conference because he knows its importance, And so what we're also saying for recruiting, Dawson Creek is the community with the biggest problem right now in the South Peace with recruiting, and they're having a terrible time. And we're saying, market it as live in Dawson Creek, work in Dawson Creek, but come and play in Tumbler Ridge. And that's how you can attract people, and now everyone is seeing what we have to offer through the conference. So it all kind of works together. We also have the Health in Geoparks project, which I'm working on with Manda and Jenna at the Geopark. And all I can say to you is that so we're trying to say, well, a geopark isn't just about rocks, but it's about making people healthy. And Tumbler Ridge is taking a global lead in this. And so whatever we do here, we can export to the rest of the world so easily. Jenna just has to click of the mouse, and it's out to the world. And that's how we can influence things. And so just to get back to what I call the 3 plagues, the diabetes, the mental health problems, and the dementia problems. And the dementia is just coming down the pipe, right, by the way, because the diabetes hits first, the mental health hits first, and then there's a lag of about 20 years, and then the dementia is going to come. So none of this is good news, but what we're thinking is that the best way to address these things is, there are so many people trying so heroically to help and to treat these things and to help people. And this is not to take away from that at all, but it's the solution, we think, lies in going upstream as far as you can. And the upstream thing is how our diets have changed. There's so much processed food these days, so you have to get into the prevention and how to eat right. And so the good news is that type 2 diabetes and mental health and dementia, they can all be prevented with the same dietary approaches. This is the amazing thing. And this is what we're working on with this IPTN, the Institute for Personalized Therapeutic Nutrition. And, you know, there's just such an enormous prevalence in the South Peace. I think our rates here are higher than the rest of the province, particularly high with First Nations, as you know. So we've got a huge problem. And then, so here comes Dr. Lenouvel, who reads about this potential pilot project in BC, and they're looking for 2 communities in which to launch a pilot project of how to deal with this. And Dr. Lenouvel applies for the funding, and the application is successful. So everything that's happening here is thanks to Dr. Lenouvel's initiative. It's just remarkable. So it's Tumbler Ridge and Port Alberni. And the interesting thing is that rural health in BC is leading the way. We are leading the way because if you think about it, it's so much easier to tackle something like this in Tumbler Ridge than anywhere else. If you compare us to Vancouver, here we've got 1 major store, 4 or 5 restaurants to work with. It's just so easy, and we've got the hiking trails and everything else. Whereas if you're in Vancouver, we've got 1 pharmacist that we have to work with. Can you imagine in Vancouver what a nightmare it's going to be to try and deal with? So that rural leads the way, and Tumbler Ridge is leading the way. So we've just completed phase 1, which Dr. Lenouvel will speak about in a second. But there are a lot of other things that are happening. We're looking at a health fair in October with a focus on diabetes. We're working with, there's a First Nations primary care clinic that's starting up in Chetwynd, and we're working with SOTO and their educators, etc., in terms of how can we help the First Nations, how can we help the reserves, how can we help them get on top of this as well. So it's not just about Tumbler Ridge, it's about Chetwynd and the region as well. And just today, Jenna told me that this whole concept of what we're trying to do has now been accepted for a presentation for an international conference in November, October, November. So it's just amazing how things are moving forward. And Northern Health, Becky Borton, the HSA, just recently said she can't, at a meeting that we had, that she couldn't believe the leadership that's coming out of Tumbler Ridge. Normally, small communities don't do this. It doesn't happen. But it's happening here, and Councillor Julik attended the part of the conference that dealt with type 2 diabetes, and what we're saying is we can put type 2 diabetes into remission. This is what we're saying. In at least 50 to 75% of cases, with good dietary management, we can put your diabetes into remission, number 1, and we can tell you if it looks like 10 years from now you're going to be diabetic, we can do the tests and we can tell you now to allow you to prepare and prevent it from ever happening. It's incredibly exciting. So what Councillor Julik said, much braver than me, but she said, wow, you guys are trying to build a community around diabetes. To me, that's incredibly profound. And it's sort of something that inspires me and helps me to try and work further on this. If you think back to the polypharmacy project, which we did in Tumbler Ridge, polypharmacy reduction, it's very similar because it was, so now we're applying for what's called phase 2 funding. Phase 1, which is what Clair is going to talk to you about, was dreaming and what can we do? What would we like to do? Phase 2 is putting it into practice. It means getting Sharisa on board at the pharmacy and actually testing people and doing all sorts of things. But that polypharmacy reduction project, in Tumbler Ridge, we did the most complete example of that that's ever happened anywhere in the world, and we've published on it because we're small and we're tightly knit and we can do things like this. So there are just totally amazing things. My main message to you is just, you know, we've got a wonderful group of physicians and nurses, and we just need to give them credit for the really wonderful work they're doing. But it's an exciting time because there are all these things. I don't know of any other community where so much stuff is happening in this field, and it's happening right here. So I just wanted to share all that with you. happy to take any questions once Claire has spoken, but otherwise just to hand over to Dr. Lenouvel, and she's just going to tell you, summarize the work that was done so far in what was called phase 1. Okay, Claire, you should be on. She might have been called out.
She's on mute, so she should hear
Claire,
you.
we think you might be on mute, Claire. Lost her. You've lost her. No, that's okay. Yeah. We can try and phone her and see what's happening, but I mean, I can just give you some examples of what has been done so far. So we've got a thing called the stomp of approval, which is in the shape of a dinosaur track. But we're hoping that restaurants will, once they start offering healthy food choices and we review the healthy food choices, it will have the stamp of approval. That's diabetic friendly and so on. That's one example. Through Sharisa at the pharmacy, we're talking about getting what's called a point of care HbA1c test, which is no having to wait for an appointment for a blood test, waiting for the results, booking an appointment to follow up. Sharisa can take a finger poke test and within minutes tell you you're diabetic or you're not, or this is where you stand. She won't manage you, but then she'll refer you to Claire or Tamara or Effie or Mustafa, whoever, our 4 doctors, yeah. So that's an example of the kind of thing we're looking at. We're looking at the health fair, we're looking at the community kitchen, the community garden. We've spoken with you about what can be offered in your worship in the store. Just making things easier for people. And then there's no other community that's got as many hiking trails or opportunities for exercise with our wonderful swimming pool and all those things. So this really, the moment I heard about this, I went to the first meeting and the IPTN folks came up here, and I think you were there, Your Worship. I said, we all had to do an introduction. My introduction statement was, this is the most important meeting that's happened in Tumbler Ridge in the last 20 years. Because I believed in this for so long, now all of a sudden I see it happening. And it's just a remarkable thing. Jenna, is there anything you want to add if Claire is not on the line?
Just before we continue, I'll need a motion from council to continue the delegation. Councillor Julick, seconder. Councillor Norbury. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Please continue.
With the Rural Coordination Centre of BC being a big supporter of this program, we've actually introduced the Partnership Pentagram Plus model, which is used there, and it's about bringing community members around a table to be on the same kind of level and have the same kind of voice. So it's been very inspirational for me to see how the community members really work together to engage in really creating this program, because it's their program. This is a program that we want to be sustainable on because of our community members. It's the only way that it can be sustainable. So if we have our community members on board working to build this, we can really kind of, make it happen and make it happen long term. So another thing is an appreciative inquiry approach to doing and to setting up the meetings. So that's your dreaming and your designing. It's allowed us to dream the big dreams and then kind of narrow it down to what we can do and what we can do with the funding. So we were able to put together this great program that we all see can be sustainable and initiated by the community. And so right now, we're just working on, and we're pretty sure we have the funding for the A1C point of care testing, which will be administered through the pharmacy, like Charles was saying. So that's gonna be like our initial step to really kind of having that in our community and available to all our community members. We also kind of narrowed it down to about 4 different really important parts of this program. So we have the community kitchen, which we hope will be a kind of a foundation for this to be a teaching institute. You know, information giving, and just kind of being that kind of host to it. We've also, you know, the partners, our restaurants, our grocery store, our pharmacy, all those kind of, we've narrowed that down to who's really gonna be able to help us out and who we need to help us out with this program. And then we narrowed it down to what the physicians and what our medical professionals need from the community. So creating almost like a prescription for programs or prescription for, so that they can do that social prescribing within their facility and give it to the patients and be like, here's some great programs within our community that we can give it. So with the Geopark, we have a Forest to Fork program, and we've kind of turned that around to really kind of fit within this program, and it's extremely easy. So we've kind of enabled all organizations to, we fit it so all organizations could really kind of mold to this great new program that we're going to introduce. Oh, perfect.
Are you with us, Claire?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I couldn't hear for probably the first 5-10 minutes. I can't see everyone in the room. But hi, everyone. I'm Claire. I'm one of the physicians and part of the Diabetes and Remission project. So I don't know what you guys talked about at the beginning, but I think Jenna did a really nice summary of everything that's kind of come out of our community tables. Another one of the projects that has come out of it is the health fair we're trying to organize in October with a focus primarily around diabetes. And also just further partnership and education around diabetes and therapeutic nutrition and lifestyle, and education around remission is possible with food and diet and lifestyle. So it's quite exciting, especially we've applied now for further funding for further implementation, especially the A1C testing in the pharmacy could be a really nice way for community members to have a bit more agency over their own healthcare, to, you know, not have to wait for an appointment for a lab rec, then get blood work, then see a doctor, and they can, you know, see if their lifestyle changes has been positively impacting their A1C by going through the pharmacy and just having a bit more agency. And so it's been a really incredible year of doing the project, and it really showed us how strong Tumbler Ridge is as a community and how motivated community members are. So I think we're all really excited for the next phase of the research and the funding for further implementation.
Thanks, Claire. We'd be really happy to take questions. I know we're a bit over time, but if there are any questions, we'd all be happy to answer.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your delegation. I think it's great to have the insight, and thank Jenna and all the doctors for establishing it, especially Jenna for getting the organization at the first time. And I sat on there, and then in every meeting that's come forward, either other meetings come up and I can't attend, but I do appreciate it, and I think it's a great add-on for the district of Tunbridge, for our residents. Dr. Helm, you mentioned it. I mean, I think we're really seeing the forefront of that, so thank you for that. Council Noxana.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming in. That was a really great presentation with lots of really great information. You had mentioned about community partners like the community kitchen and gardens. Would there be an opportunity to bring some of this information into our schools, particularly our high school, where kids have more choices about what they're eating? They're able to go around town and get their own lunches, and potentially give them that information at a younger age than what traditionally has happened in the past.
Type 2 diabetes is no longer a condition just of adults, it's a condition of adolescents. So the earlier you get to people, the more relevant the information is that you can give them. And I mean, some of the kids get good information from their parents, others don't. And there's definitely an opportunity there, agreed.
And I just want to mention that we did have on the round table, we had Marcia Dufresne, who is a huge spokesperson for the high school, as well as Keith Bertrand, who is the physical education teacher. So,
Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. Thank you, Dr. Helm, Ms. McQueen, and Dr. Lenouvel for coming in and chatting with us about this. Dr. Helm, I really appreciated how you labeled type 2 diabetes as a plague upon our society. It's very true. You know, I became diabetic, type 2 diabetic when I was in my early 20s, and it's something we're starting to see on the rise in our society in general with our processed foods and ultra-processed foods, and we definitely need to approach it from multiple angles, you know, the preventative angle, the how to deal with it angle. So really appreciate all that you're doing. It's a very important subject for people's health, and it's going to take over. You already know it's probably taking over our health system. You know, we're dealing with it so much. So I really appreciate you taking on this cause and working towards that. And not to take away from the presentation, but since you brought it up, Dr. Helm, about your recruitment and retention initiatives, you know, at the conference roast dinner, you know, I was able to chat with a bunch of people from, Dawson Creek, and we were chatting about how we can help recruitment and retention. And my answer was, you got to get to Dr. Helm, because he's out there, he's going out overseas, he's getting us doctors, he's coming up with ideas. And that was kind of the best advice I can give to Mayor Dober, in our conversation was like, well, you need to get Dr. Helm. So good luck with that. He's ours. But, thank you for being such a great advocate for our community. And, honestly, the reason why we are in the great state we're in is due to your efforts and your work on the forefront. And I have no doubt you have a lot of supporting staff and people helping with that. Don't want to take that away, but thank you for all that you do.
Councillor Julich.
Yeah, I think everything's kind of been said. I would agree that I'm really excited about the program because I also have type 2 diabetes, and yeah, I would echo what Councillor Norbury said about the whole, and you about the plague. Just the difference is I'm seeing young people that I shouldn't say young. I know a young person who has diabetes, and I would not have imagined a type 2 diabetes in this young person. So I absolutely agree that our diets are, yeah. So it was really interesting at the conference too to hear the different stories from the different presenters, and it was exciting to hear from Becky. Like, this kind of a project doesn't just happen, and so it's also a way, I would imagine, to recruit when these kind of things happen for communities. Doctors see that and realize that there's community involved in this. And I was just casually at something at the Let's Talk, and a staff member heard me talking about diabetes, and she's part of the crew, and she was like, oh, and gave me the information. So I'm super excited. The A1C thing at the pharmacy, that's super exciting, because I'm one of those ones who goes every 3 months for the blood work and stuff. It's got to save doctors time as well. Just free up some of those things. So super excited. Can't wait to see where it goes, and hoping to be part of it and take up on some of the stuff. So thanks for coming in and sharing the info, and hopefully we can keep getting that information out because it's super important. And I never thought about how that would trickle down into the dementia and the mental health, I know, because that goes hand in hand with type 2 diabetes, but I didn't recognize the dementia piece as well. So yeah, definitely mental health and diabetes is a big deal. So thanks again.
So Alzheimer's disease can be paraphrased as type 3 diabetes. So that's the unfortunate situation, yeah. But all I can say, Your Worship, is just watch us. Give us a chance. It'll take a few months to get this going, but just watch us, please.
You betcha. Councillor Dussault.
Yes, I'd also like to thank you for coming in with the presentation. I have attended a couple of your meetings in the beginnings, but there again, Mondays are kind of out. But I have enjoyed, as Councillor Julik said with the pharmacy, I think that's fabulous. I mean, that cuts down a lot of time, a lot of wait time. So again, thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions from council? I have a couple. Ms. Queen, you mentioned about the community kitchen. Do you have a start date for that?
So we don't. So this is just like a plan we put in place. We kind of were hoping that our local library would, partner up with us. Unfortunately, I haven't really had much response, but we are looking at different avenues of like kind of creating kind of a similar model and kind of putting it into that, putting that kind of as the main focus with a different startup. But it's there as our main piece. We just kind of have to have funding to look at operating it.
Okay, appreciate that. Do you have a location?
Well, so we have a few ideas in our head. So the Legion's kitchen downstairs, which is a food safe kitchen, no longer has a ladies auxiliary in it. So that is option number one. Option number two is approaching the high school or approaching one of the churches to see if that could be a viable option as well. So there are options available.
Okay, no, and that's great to hear. And if you need support there, let us know. I would fully support it any way we can to try to help support a location, and whether it's a letter of support or whatever. But I think what you guys are doing is great. And again, I appreciate being invited to the meeting. I apologize for the lack of attendance at your meetings. Again, it just depends on what date it is and stuff. And when it comes to the conference, Dr. Helm, my apologies that I didn't attend. I relied on a date that was given to me and a time, and obviously I was there by myself, so it was obviously wrong. So my apologies for that. I did meet with Mayor Dober. We talked the night that he first came down, and we talked the day that he came, and of course my schedule was already booked with something else, so I couldn't even get out of it. So my apologies for that, and I don't blame the person that gave me the information, as I have it in my email too, but it was just something that was put in my head. So my apologies to that for sure, and I'll apologize to you too, Ms. McQueen, for not making all your meetings. I think it's what you guys are doing. I think it's so important. When we see in a community of Tumble Ridge, I think it's really important that we do all we can. So if there's anything else we can do, or even if I can do, just please reach out, let me know. Probably chat with you a bit offline. I have a couple ideas for you maybe. Try to help that way too. But yeah, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. When I look at the city of Port Alberni and its Tumble Ridge, I think we'll, wish them all the best too, but I think we can rock this with you guys. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's totally my fault.
I didn't mention who it was.
Oh, I've got the 3-2.
Okay, moving on to Canadian National Railway Company. Tyler Banick, Public Affairs Manager, in attendance to present about the Rail Safety Awareness Week. Via Zoom, I'm assuming.
Your Worship, Council, Public, how is everyone today?
Good, yourself, Tyler?
Yeah, very good for coming after a long weekend. Hopefully everything, the weather and fires and everything is safe up in your neck of the woods. I'm just going to share my screen. Thank you for having myself and Constable Rebecca Raber join you today for our ask of you to proclaim September 23rd to 29th, 2024 as Rail Safety Week. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Sorry, I missed you on that one.
Yeah, we're just waiting here.
Okay, just let me know when you have it. Nothing yet, hey?
You know, it hasn't sent through yet to her to share.
I don't know if it doesn't seem to be asking. Hold on here. Let me see if I'm missing something on my end. No, I'm gonna, yeah, sorry, I don't, it says share screen and I click on it and I click on the screen that I want to share, but doesn't seem to be coming through on your end, maybe. But I can go ahead if you wish.
Please.
I have left the presentation with your team if they wanted to share it after the fact.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so myself, Rebecca, we always start our meetings at CN with a safety moment. So, as we're here for rail safety and safety in general, just wanted to bring the screen that I can see shows crossbucks or active warning device with the bells in the arm. So just for the folks in the room, always follow the railway signs, the signals. Trains do not always run on a schedule. They can run at any time on any track. Don't cross railroad tracks immediately after a train passes because there could be a second train. And note that trains can come from either direction. Make sure you can see clearly around the first train in both directions before crossing the tracks. Secondly, railway signs, lights, bells, and gates are there to keep you safe. Before crossing, look both ways and listen for trains. If one is coming, or if you see any railway warning signals, then stop behind any gates or stop lines at least 5 meters away and wait for the train to pass. Only cross when the signals have stopped and you're sure that no other trains are coming. So a little CN 101 for the team there. We have a three-coast access off the west coast, the Atlantic, and the down through New Orleans to the Gulf of Mexico. We service 7 major ports, moving 180 different commodity types. Within that network, there's over 10,000 origin destination cars moving, and 85% of that traffic originates on CN's network. There are times where we would pick up train cars from customers being handed off by other Class 1 railways such as CPKC and BNSF. In British Columbia, we employ over 2,600 employees, moving 2,800 route miles, putting back this year alone over $400 million in capital investments to ensure that we prioritize and the replacement, enhancement, and maintenance of our key infrastructure. While we don't hire out of Tumbler Ridge as a hiring location for our transportation teams, we do employ in communities close to you, 116 out of Chetwynd, 5 in Dawson Creek, and 101 in Fort St. John, and that's where those employees would come to service the mines in your community. I talked about capital investments. Between August 20th and September 11th, it's slated that our engineering forces will be on the CN Tumbler subdivision, which goes from Wakely to Trend. It's approximately 80 miles. And during that time, they'll be maintaining, adding, fixing rail ties, steel rail, the ballast, the rock that hold the track in place. As you've seen, a lot of fires recently across our network. We've got a few that we're watching up near the Ashcroft Spence's Bridge area, Fort Nelson, and then of course the big one through Jasper. Over the last number of years, we've built 3 fire trains, we call them, that have a 66-foot bulkhead flat rail car equipped with 2 3,500-gallon tanks, 3 water pumps, fire hoses, and generators. We were able to combine 2 of these particular rail cars as one big unit and have deployed that through Jasper and through the Ashcroft and Spence's Bridge, Cook's Ferry area this year. Two of them are currently in Jasper helping Alberta Wildfire, Parks Canada, spraying the right of way and kind of keeping that fire break in place. So a great initiative by our teams to help and support the communities and the provincial and federal networks. So the reason why we are here is we've come to you in support of Rail Safety Week. We're asking for mayor and council support in the community of Tumbler Ridge to proclaim Rail Safety Week September 23rd to 29th, and really looking for your community and yourselves in the positions that you are to help us spread the word of the importance of safety. And I know the mines in your community are up and running, and we'll see an increase of trains coming out, moving some of the coal product in Tumbler Ridge. So very exciting for these next weeks and months ahead. And with that, sometimes there's complacency that the trains are, they're there, but we see them at the crossing, and then they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. So we would ask just to, if whether it be social media or on your webpage through the community, if you can just spread the word on rail safety, and maybe I'll take that time to pass it over to Rebecca, who can kind of speak to her role and the educational piece that the CN Police provide across the BC North and our entire network.
Tyler, I hope everybody can hear me. Hi, my name is Constable Rebecca Raber. I work for Canadian National Railway Police here in British Columbia, mostly the Lower Mainland. So I haven't patrolled the Tumbler Ridge area, but our northern member, Constable Thorne, tells me that he has no safety concerns in Tumbler Ridge. The community is absolutely great. I think the only time we ever have to monitor or do some enforcement would be during hunting season, sometimes with people that use off-roading vehicles and stuff to get to, I guess, more secluded areas for hunting. So yeah, so Rail Safety Week is our public campaign, like Tyler was explaining, that takes place every year, the last week of September, throughout Canada and the US. Let me just refer to. So our goal basically throughout, oh, sorry, Tyler.
No, sorry, you had cut out just for a quick second there.
Oh yeah, sorry. So our goal throughout this week is really to do education in all our communities. Our goal is, for CN is to reduce all trespassing and crossing incidents to zero. We want to be the safest railway in North America. And we do that, I know, for CN Police, education, outreach, and enforcement. But really during Rail Safety Week, it's all about education. As Tyler was saying before as well, CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested City Council to adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise this awareness. And I know in our PowerPoint slide number 9 has some ways that you can help. You can go online and sign our safety pledge. You can visit cn.ca/railsafety web pages to get some more information on it. And we have our number there as well if you had any questions, concerns, or any.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, and that's the gist of it. Your worship and council is just looking for your support and the official proclamation.
All right, well, thank you very much, Tyler and Rebecca, for coming as a delegation and giving us some safety topics and stuff. Appreciate it. Any questions from council? Great. I have one question there. When you talk about education for that week and stuff, is there any material that you guys hand out at schools or send to the school districts to hand out? The only reason I ask that is obviously we're in not a secluded area, but we do a lot of off-roading here, dirt biking, ATVing and all that. And a lot of our youth and children participate in that. And, you know, like we have the tunnels, pretty sure you would be aware of that, and even the constable out of the local area. That's a huge thing when the railway was shut down or the mines were shut down, there was no coal going through. A lot of people went through the tunnels on their ATVs or side-by-sides. And now that we're active, I know I still see comments about people looking to go to the tunnels. And some of that's youth and children. Is there any material that you could hand out? Like we deal with School District 59 in Tumbler Ridge.
Tyler, I'm just going to speak. Absolutely, sir. We have a lot of CN presentations or like outlines that we could definitely give to our police officer up north, and we can schedule those presentations. We'd love to do that. Outreach and education is definitely one of the things that we do best here. So I'd love to organize that. So I don't know, we can go through, Tyler, maybe we can go through you to see what area specifically or what school specifically, and we can definitely organize that. We have tons of like CN swag and a whole bunch of presentations geared exactly towards that. Bringing awareness is really important to us. So I'd definitely be interested and on board with that, sir.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Tyler, what I'll do is I'll reach out to you and connect you with School District 59 trustee. And I'm sure that individual will be able to supply you with the proper contact information. Because I think it'd be great.
That would be wonderful. And you know, Constable Thorne did mention those tunnels are very, very long. And yeah, oh man, that would be, if there was someone ever caught in there with the train coming through, I don't think it would end very well. So to get that message out to the youth and educate at an early age of the dangers of the trains and how long it takes them to stop and everything else that goes with it is what myself and Constable Raber are here for, to get that message out. So happy to help in any way.
Okay, appreciate that. And I think it's important because we don't see trains coming through the municipality, right? It's on the outside of us. So like, you know, I mean, I think our children and our youth are very aware that we have, you know, trains that come up to pick up our coal and stuff. But just to have that conversation and you know, presentations to those youth and children to make sure they understand, you know, especially with side-by-siding, ATVing, dirt biking, that there is some concerns there, especially with the tunnels and stuff. And like I said, Tyler, I'll connect with you offline there and give you our trustees' contact information. And that'd probably be the best contact for the School District 59.
Yeah, and we'll take it from there and we'll try to get out and do a live presentation and get some literature out to the team, or the kids, should I say.
Perfect. And they always like, you know, draws and stuff or free stuff, right?
Yes.
Right. CN trucks, you know, all that stuff. Sure. Usually helps, catches their attention.
Exactly.
All right, perfect. Any other questions from council? All right, well, thank you very much, Tyler and Rebecca, for coming as a delegation. I know the next one is going to be the resolution for the Rail Safety Week, so it'll be right out after the delegation.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Be safe.
You too.
Hi,
Thank you
for having us.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving on to resolution in support of the Rail Safety Week. I'll make the recommendation, whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 23rd to 29th, 2024. Whereas 229 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2023, resulting in 66 avoidable fatalities and 39 avoidable serious injuries. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway rights of way are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway trail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws. Reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. Whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested City Council, District Town Council to adopt the resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in the communities, including our municipality. Therefore, we do these presents, proclaim, and declare that September 23rd to September 29th, 2024 should be known as Rail Safety Week in the District of Tumbler Ridge. Do we need a seconder? Okay, I'll take a seconder. Councillor Dussault, any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, consent agenda, recommendation, Councilor Norbury.
That all items in the August 6th, 2024 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councilor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Are there any items council like to bring forward? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. 7.8 for discussion.
Seconder, Councilor Noxana. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So, we have a letter from the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, and I think it's appropriate that we nominate Chief Curry for the Fire Chief of the Year award nomination. So I will motion.
Okay, seconder, Councilor Julik. Any discussion? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out, of Fire Chief Curry's quick actions, coordination, and control over wildfire response and wildfire evacuation was outstanding and stellar. And the steps he's taken since then to try and ensure our community is best equipped to deal with wildfire emergency moving forward is commendable. So I really hope that they consider him for this award as he deserves it. Thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you. Councilor Julik.
I think that Chief Curry, on top of the wildfire stuff, he also has lots of other aspects of his job here in the community that he does very well. Stuff that you don't normally see, I wouldn't imagine, in a big city. Having to take care of palliative care and covering stuff at the health clinic and all of that stuff and being the go-to guy for anything fire related. I don't think I think about anybody else when I think, oh, there's a fire. Oh, I better phone Dustin. So I guess for me, I would like to know if there's anything that we as council need to do for that, if it would help if we wrote letters, if that's something that staff fills out the paperwork, all of that good stuff.
Ms. Scott.
We need the resolution from council. There is a lengthy application form that will require lots of creative writing, but I don't think there's anything else necessarily needed from council at this point.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other discussion? Make a couple of comments. Too bad that Chief Curry is present. This would have been something nice to surprise because it's, whatever he's here, so be it. Councilor Norbury, I think you hit a lot of it talking about in regards to wildfire and mitigation after the fire and working with staff through that and working with council and the mayor through that being the first year I was the mayor. So I think it's well deserved. Hopefully we can, hopefully they'll see it from our side too. And I think if staff needs any input in regards to when we had our evacuation last year, I know I have a lot of notes from that was supplied. So and hopefully they see the value that we're setting it in and for the reasons why we're setting it in. And it's not just the evacuation, it's all the other stuff in between, working in regards to bringing things forward. And to me, that's the trailer that we've bought for sprinkler protection trailer. That was before the forest fire. Something thinking ahead and getting it out there, really, knowing that this stuff's coming forward and seeing it on the board and the meetings he attends and conferences he attends. So I think when we see that, I think it's got to be, hopefully they'll see it from our side too. So again, I wanted to thank staff for that, but again, too bad he's present. Okay, any other comments? Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, anything else council would like to bring forward? Councillor Julik.
7.3, the first one with the Peace River Regional District.
Okay, for discussion, 7.2.
Oh, yep, sorry, 7.2.
For discussion, seconder. Councillor Dussault, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Julik.
It asks if we are interested in attending those meetings, and I'm hoping that we do have staff that could attend that. I think that anytime we can be part of, that would be great. I just didn't know if we needed to do something here in this meeting to make sure that happened.
I'll ask Ms. Scott, but my understanding is we already attend, but Ms. Scott?
Yeah, that's correct. We already have staff attending.
Yep. Okay, are there any other items council would like to bring forward? Councillor Dussault.
Can I bring forward 7.4, 7.5, and 7.6?
Sure can. Discussion, hang on a second. Seconder, Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead, Councillor, just so, because I was going to bring him
I
forward.
would just like to send a big thank you to Rio Smith, Savannah White, and William Rhymes for their thank you letters for their bursaries that they received. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Any other discussion? Sorry? Right, well, no, right now we're on this one, sorry. Yeah, I appreciate council, just so you bring them forward, because that was on my sheet. So again, it's great when we are able to hand out some bursaries, and then, you know, obviously the UC is it, and returns a thank you. So thanks for bringing that forward. Okay, any other items council like to bring forward? Councillor Julik.
7.3, CONUMA Resources.
Okay, for discussion, seconder. Councillor Hoffman, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Julik.
I like that this comes forward to us just so we can take a look and keeps us kind of up to date. It all kind of goes over my head, I'll be honest. I just wonder when this stuff happens, like this gives staff the opportunity to go through it if they have any concerns, like I'm thinking specific concerns, and they would address them if needed, that they don't need council to.
No, so it's anybody, it's residents and staff, other organizations. This is open to everybody. It's not just for the District of Tumbleridge. That's one of the mandates that have to do by the government. Any other discussion? Okay, any other items council like to bring forward? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. 7.14, Northern Health for discussion.
Okay, I'll second that one. All in favor? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I would like to take up Northern Health on this opportunity to meet with them at UBCM. You know, I'd be happy to talk about discussion topics, or we can move that to a P&P.
Yeah. Just like, let's just put a motion on the floor that we have staff, because I know it did come up already. Staff may have already filled it out, but I think this is a different way of doing it, so.
Thank you. I'll motion that we engage Northern Health with meeting them at UBCM.
Thank you. Seconder? I'll second that. Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Anything else on that one? Good.
My only comments there, Mayor Kakalka, thank you, is can we have an opportunity to speak about discussion topics at our next P&P, or should we do that tonight?
We'll move to a PMP.
Yep, thank you.
And if it's different, maybe send me a list, because I already have some ideas, so. Just so we meet their timeline, because there is a timeline there. Maybe just email me and then I'll make sure it's on it. Okay, any other items council like to bring forward? Okay, I'd like to bring forward 7.9 BC assessment for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Again, I'm just going to put a motion on the floor that we have staff reach out to BC assessment, set up a meeting during the UBCM. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Discussion? Councillor Noxana?
Is there topics that pertain to the District of Tumbler Ridge that we should be bringing forward to BC assessment?
Yeah, so some of it, to me, it'd be the CONUMA coal in regards to the restart of Little Windy. And some of the things, sorry?
With BC assessment?
Yeah, that's who makes the decisions on idling or active
Okay.
mine sites. So again, I think it's great to meet with them, because to me, we need to find out where we sit and what the concept is when it comes to the idling of Wolverine.
Okay.
How that step will work and how it affects us, because it's going to affect. So this is our opportunity to be able to meet with BC Assessment to work with that. Okay, any other discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Any other items the council would like to bring forward? I'd like to bring forward 7.15 for discussion. Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. I actually have a recommendation that staff reach out to West Moberly Industrial Metalworks and to, I mean, we'll debate it, but to send a letter with regrets that we cannot honor waiving of green fees for the charity golf tournament for TR Cares. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Discussion. My comments there, I did meet with the CAO previously in agenda review, but because a company is mentioned there, we're giving to a company which we can't. If it was just for the TR cares, it could be a different debate with council. But I think we just never did, we need to send them a letter so that they're aware of the reason why we can't. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. I support the motion. I know West Morbley, well, I don't know, but I would assume they'd probably have a nonprofit or a charitable organization that could potentially take this on if they're able to manage that. But yeah, I understand that it's against the community charter to assist businesses in this way. And, no matter how good the cause is, because TR Cares is definitely a great cause. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilor Norbury. I agree. Like TR Cares does so much for the residents and stuff, but it's just, I did ask questions if there was something else we could do. Was there a way of partnering and stuff like that? And my understanding with going through the community charter, there's nothing we can do at this point. Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Are there any other items council like to bring forward? Okay. Okay, moving on to bylaw to amend bylaw 737, 2024 to 2028 financial plan. Bylaw to amend the bylaw 737, 2024 to 2028 financial plan. Councillor Noxana.
The council gives the first reading of the District of Tumbler Ridge 2024-2028 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740-2024.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Second recommendation. Councillor Noxana.
The council gives the second reading of the District of Tumbler Ridge 2024-2028 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740-2024.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Recommendation number 3. Councillor Noxana.
The council gives third reading of the District of Tumbler Ridge 2024-2028 Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw number 740-2024.
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, new business, development variance permit application approval for 119 Peace River Crescent. Report dated August 6th from the Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief, regarding development variance permit application approval for 119 Peace River Crescent. Before the recommendation, I need to step out as this is my local residence, so to me it's a conflict.
I'm gonna move them all around.
So if I could get a recommendation, Councillor Noxana.
The council authorized the development variance permit application submitted for 119 Peace River Crescent, lot 165, plan number PGP 29116.
A seconder, Councillor Norbury. Any discussion? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Chair Julik. I think it's just an appropriate thing to make the mayor sit and stew for a couple seconds. Let's just make a lot of voices in the microphone so he knows we're having a good discussion about it. And
Maybe get a little loud.
Get a little loud. Outrageous. Nothing to say, thank you.
All right. All in favor? All in favor? Sorry, I totally lost it there. All right, we can move on to the next item once we let the mayor back in. I feel like I should do something here, though.
Take all those pens.
Take the whole.
Okay, 9.2, temporary use permit application for 228 Quarry Crescent. Report dated August 6th from Deputy Corporate Officer regarding temporary use permit application for 228 Quarry Crescent. Recommendation, Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. That council authorizes the public notification to affected neighbors and for a proposed temporary use permit to Will Howe of Grizzly Dog Holdings Limited, 228 Quarry Crescent, Tumbler Ridge, PID 029-207-649, Parcel A, District Block 3184, Peace River District Plan, BCP 22621, to conduct rural resources, RR, business of RV park, which is not permitted in an industrial M1 zone.
Seconder, Councillor Julich. Discussion. Councillor Julich.
If I wanted to make a motion to make an amendment on this, could I?
Yeah, amended.
All right, so I would like to amend it to read everything that's there to a maximum of 12 sites.
Okay, 12 seconds. Seconder on the amended motion. Councillor Clickash. Discussion on the amendment. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. Can we just have a rationale on why we would be limiting it, or how number 12 was chosen? Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Julich.
I was able to talk to the owner of Grizzly Dog Holding, so Will Howe. Just discussed it with him. My concerns, as we're making a temporary use permit and it's a 3-year permit, I had gone out and taken a look at the site, and I think that if we do 12, and this is something I discussed with Mr. Howe, he didn't seem concerned about that. He actually, because that was one of my main questions, was like how many sites out there in that specific area. I just feel like until we do the zoning bylaw and we get a look at that, I don't think he's interested in doing any more than 12 sites, why he was agreeable to it. I just feel like if we're going outside of what we normally do, and with my experience of having operated the RV park here in town, I think that it's important that we kind of have a scope of what that looks like. I think that if he wanted to go with more than 12 sites, he could come back and amend that temporary use permit. Just with the amount of space that he has out there, and without having any formal plan in front of us of what that looks like so far as water and sewer and all of that stuff, I feel like I'm comfortable doing up to 12 sites, but other than that, I'd want to have a little bit more information of what that would look like otherwise. I was very, after talking to Mr. Howe, I'm very supportive of his plans. I think he has some really good ideas there, and appreciate that he came forward, to make sure that his permitting was appropriate, that he'd talked to Chief Curry and that. So anyways, I would just like to see it amended to 12 sites.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Yeah. So, to be honest with you, I can't support the motion. I think this is the first step for it to go back out, and it can be changed at the point after staff hears back, once these letters are submitted to the surrounding areas. To me, we don't know what those people are going to say, and it could totally change the motion. Maybe people come in and say that they're only interested in 10 or 5 or 8 or whatever. To me, I'd rather hear from the people that reside their businesses out there before, to me, I put a specific number to something like that. So at this point, I won't support that motion. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I can appreciate Councillor Julich's comments, with her expertise on operating RV parks. But, from my perspective, I don't like limiting business unless we have a very specific problem that we're trying to fix here, right? Like if the problem is that, say, our RV parks are, they're empty, why would we add more? That makes sense to me, because we're trying to protect what we currently have. But by limiting it just to limit it, when we, there's no, other than this is how we feel, I'm sorry, I can't support it this time. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Clickash.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Howe. We do have a problem here. If you go and look around, you'll see that there's trailers hooked up, and they're sitting on the street or on town property, just off the street. And this has happened in our neighborhood, and it was there for like almost 2 months before it was moved. And my understanding is that they were dumping the sewer down the storm sewer. So we do have a problem, and we have to think of something to solve this problem. And I think Will Howe's got an answer there, for a temporary answer for 3 years, that maybe that we could go with him and see what happens. And also, when we're doing our zoning bylaw, we got to look at these things because there's a lot of changes that can happen with housing and that in commercial areas and industrial areas. They're doing it all over Alberta, so why wouldn't we do it here? You know, so we have to really look at all these issues. And I think that Mr. Howe has got a proper solution there, a temporary solution, a test solution, let's say, for this type of operation. So anyway, it's, I feel that it'd be a good idea to give them a chance.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I think, just so you're aware, we're just debating the amendment, which is to restrict it to 12 units.
Yeah, well, he asked for, he said that he would go for 10 or 12 units, because it would limit the amount of work that he would have to do right at the present time to get this in, going right away. So, and then he said if it all works out, he may want to expand the whole thing to 2 or 3 lots down there and have a proper RV park. But it's all based on what will happen now. So.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Julik?
I just wanted to clarify with you, because I absolutely agree with you. Like, I don't have a problem, like, because it goes out. So when it goes out and we don't get any, if we do or don't get any responses from his neighbors, from the neighbors out there, then if that amendment, I could make that amendment then?
That's my understanding. Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so like, again, I mean, with the amendment on the floor is to restrict it to 12 units. My thing is if this proponent has come in and if, to me, if they fear 8, 10, 12, and all of a sudden they want to expand it, to me, they don't need it if we don't put a limit on it until we hear back from people. But that's why I can't support it. Okay, so the amendment on the floor is to, everything is good on the recommendation except for only allowing it to be 12 sites. Okay, going to call a question on the motion. All in favor of that? Opposed? Motion is defeated. The amendment is defeated, sorry. Okay, motion's back on the floor in regards to the recommendation to start the process, public notification process for the affected neighbors. Any discussion? Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to make a motion today, but the other aspect of this I was concerned about is the 3-year limit. That I think that based on whatever our expected zoning is to be completed, that sort of timeline plus a little room, I don't think that this, we are talking about a test run and a temporary. I don't think we need to leave it for the 3 years. But again, we'll go through this process and deal with that at that time. But I just want to draw attention to that for point 3 here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Councillor Julik.
Can I just get clarity on how long this goes out for now then to get feedback, just for,
I believe it's a couple of weeks, but it takes a week or so to get it out. Mr. Scott?
I believe we have to give 14 days, but I would double check with the Director of Protective Services on that. Is it 14 days?
Yes, Ms. Scott. So the requirement is that we actually have to post it as well. So there's newsprint and deadlines and things like that. So typically 14 days is at a minimum.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, so the recommendation on the floor is the council authorize the public notification to the affected neighbors and for proposal temporary use permit to Will Howe of Grizzly Dog Holdings Utility at 228 Quarry Crescent, Tummer Ridge, Parcel A, District Lot 3184, to conduct a rural resources business of an RV park. Going to call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, 9.3, appointment of approving officer, report dated August 6, 2024, from the Chief Administrator Office regarding appointment of approving officer. Councillor Julik.
the council appoints Lisa Scott, Chief Administrative Officer, as the approving officer for the District of Tumbler Ridge.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Sale of advertising policy and on-ice and in-ice sale of advertising policy. Report dated August 6, 2024 from Manager of Recreations regarding sale of advertising policy and in-ice sale of advertising policy. Recommendation, Councillor Julik.
The council receives this report for discussion.
Seconder on discussion, Councillor Clickash, Councillor Knoxell.
Thank you. I'm going to declare a conflict as I sit on the board of the Figure Skating Club and we receive finances through this policy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Julik.
I don't know if now is the time to make a motion. I can do it maybe after we have the discussion. I was not, I don't like that this costs us money. I guess is getting straight to the point. And I guess I'd like to know how much money it costs us and then to maybe have a review of the policy. It sounds like it takes a lot of staff time. Maybe council needs to take a look at this and talk to staff and figure out a way that maybe we can make this more streamlined, or maybe when I think of how much money that we put out to the community already in fee-for-service and grant and aid, this is one more piece of that pie. So I really appreciate the information. I imagine it was not wonderfully easy to pull together. To me, it kind of opened my eyes to something that we maybe need to just take another look at. I know for myself, I probably wouldn't approve a policy like this at this time, just looking at our budget concerns. So I'm happy to make a motion. I guess I'm looking to Mayor Kakauka if he thinks we should.
Let's just discuss it for a minute. There might
Okay.
be something that pops up here. So I'll make a couple comments. When this first initiated, and I'll be honest, it's not the in-ice sale of advertising, but it would be the other advertising policies that we've had in place. That used to all be taken care of by an organization previously. And I think it became where maybe not all non-profit organizations were getting a piece. Maybe it was picked or selected individuals when a company would advertise at the Ball Diamonds and such. The money would have been picked by the individual, maybe that was spearheading it. He was part of a non-profit. And I believe there's staff would have to speak to it. I can't remember right back if there were some complaints coming in that maybe it wasn't being shared across the board, whether that was with, figure skating, the curling club, the library, stuff like that. Apologize, Councilor Norbury, but so I think that's why the district came, with some direction given to look into that, and I think that's why the municipality started taking it on, so that it was more fair to be able to disperse those funds. Everybody had an opportunity to be able to collect some of the funds from signs out of the Ball Diamonds within the ice rink and within the curling rink, and then the in-ice came afterwards when the district started opening that up. So I think that's a little different than when we talk about the signages on the buildings inside or the fence. So that's why I think some of it the staff has taken on, and it does talk about it in the report about some of it's kind of hard to follow through with it. But I think that's how it came about, is making sure every organization had a fair game at the funds available. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakauka. I have a different opinion than Councilor Julik. This sale of advertising has saved the district of Tumble Ridge $23,000 and change, because we don't have to fund those organizations this money. We give opportunities to our nonprofit organizations to sell advertising in our community to gain advertising revenue. I don't have a lot of experience on the receiving side. That's not really my angle, but I do assist with the advertising side of things, and it's a great way for organizations to try and hustle to generate funds for themselves. And I appreciate that. Yes, we own the assets that these advertising are going on, so I think it's appropriate for us to make sure that people aren't getting free advertising forever. But at the same time, whatever work that we are putting in, we're generating funds for our nonprofit organizations. Outstanding. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just hoping for some clarity from Councillor Julik when she's referring to what it costs us. Are you just talking about like staff time and that sort of thing, that these revenues are not being put back directly to the town?
Yes, I would say it's more about what I see in this report is the process is time consuming as they struggle to obtain updated solicitor forms and renewed contract agreements. And then the difficulties that comes with being with a nonprofit, like those different mechanisms. So, well, I appreciate what Councillor Norbury said about the $23,000. We don't know what the cost side of that is. And I feel like until we know that, I you know, like I understand that each company here, you know, in reality hustles to those businesses to get them to donate the money to TR minor hockey, figure skating, etc. But then that also, in my opinion, becomes a struggle between nonprofits. Because, well, this guy, they used to donate to us and then now they've, you know what I mean? Like, to me, we put it into kind of a bidding war. And until we kind of see what the costs are in that, I feel like we're not doing the district nor those organizations justice. When I see that it costs $300 for, there was somewhere in here, it was $300 for the logos to be done for the in ice. So that has to be done. What about, you know, there's some signs out there that are faded. So is that the district who makes that decision to say to that business, that sign's faded, we need to change it? Or does that mean that the person receiving the money from that company has to approach that company and say, we need to update your sign? I just don't know that this is the best way, and I feel like we could do it differently. And I absolutely want to see the costs, and that would be where my motion lies, is to see what the costs are. And if we can't capture the costs, I think that means we need to relook at the policy. You know, with staff's input as well as everybody on council having an opinion around that. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm saying that I'd like to look into this a little bit more.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. To some of Councillor Julick's comments, the $300 is to the funding organization who has the logo, right? So the reason why I can speak to this at length is when I talk about the organization, the community forest donates to organizations through the in-ice advertising policy. And I know that the logo, the installation, that's all upon the burden of the organization donating the funds. So it is up to the community forest to do that. You know, my only comments is I don't have an issue with finding out how much the cost is, but I think we do need to be cognizant of variable and fixed costs. And what I mean is, are we just taking somebody's regular duties and saying, hey, can you take this on? Or are we bringing someone else in? Are we adding to our costs? That's something, personally, I'm not aware of happening, but I'm not in the administration, so I wouldn't know. But I mean, if it's just a matter of the fixed cost, the people are already there doing the job, and it's just something off the side of their desk, you know, their efforts are bringing in $20,000. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not inclined to change this. I don't think these companies would be paying the same rates, and these are minimum numbers, so we don't even know exactly on how much money is going to them. If staff tells me we could make more doing a direct advertisement, that it's just the company name for paying the city a certain amount, and it is in the same ballpark, like, sure, I'm willing to listen, but I imagine that at least for some of these, they are probably giving more than they otherwise would for the space, or if they would bother at all. I don't see this as broke. I kind of like this, that it gives opportunities for local business to support local nonprofits. Like, I don't see another avenue where that would be an easy thing to do. But that said, I'm always willing to listen. If we have a better way of doing this, I would like to hear it, but I like this model. I like the fact that over $20,000 a year is being put into nonprofits by local businesses. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree in regards to the funds being raised and supporting our non-for-profits, but, you know, under the background, second paragraph, if we get an opportunity to read that, the process has become time-consuming for staff as they struggle to obtain updated forms and renewed contract agreements for non-profit groups and organizations. Staff understand non-for-profit groups and organizations struggling getting volunteers and such. And the turnover there. So I'd be curious, again, Ms. Scott, if you've had an opportunity to have a gander through this, just to see what the, whether it's, maybe not just the cost, but the excess of workload / stress level on staff to make sure that we're following through with the policy that's been put into place by previous council and obviously established, to make sure that signs are being removed when they're not renewed, or being replaced when they're need to be replaced and such. Like, have you had an opportunity to be able to dig into that a bit?
I have not followed up with staff for that kind of detail, no.
Thank you. So I understand where Councilor Jules looks at, and I think, you know, maybe we just send it, you know, I don't want to say send it back to staff, but to me, we got to make sure we have the right reason we're sending it back, to get the right information that we need to make. You know, whether it's financing or to find out how much complication this is and if there's a better way of doing it that could be added within the policy. Maybe there's a better way of where, you know, again, I don't want to do the legwork, but maybe it's better that, you know, the community, the district of Tumbler Ridge receives all the funds and then it's distributed from the district of Tumbler Ridge to the organization that's chosen by the organization, by the business. So, you know, you look at the ones, and I think staff did a great job, so again, thank you there. But you look at certain groups, when you talk minor hockey, figure skating, and so on, there, you know, there's other organizations in here and such, you know, the fire associations and stuff like that. Well, if you get multiple or businesses contributing to one organization, may be easier for one check being issued than multiple. Maybe there's better traction. I don't know. But I'm just, like, I don't want to make it more time consuming for staff, but is there, like, when I read that, that's, to me, in the report from staff side, it seems like there's a bit of frustration, and because they're struggling to try to stay up on top of this. And it's a policy that was put into place by other council, and maybe it's an opportunity just to, maybe there's a better way that other organizations are doing it. Councilor Norbury and then Councilor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. So the process for selecting is that there's a list of nonprofit organizations that have been, that have asked to be put on the list, and the donating organization picks them. They write the check to District Tumbler Ridge, and District Tumbler Ridge disperses them. Okay. Right, so it's just to explain that process because it was raised. Thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Councilor Julik?
Yeah, and just a couple things. Further into the report also, it says at the bottom, do other municipalities offer any nice advertising and sale of advertising opportunities? And the answer is yes. However, it is in essence a loss of revenue to the district or another type of grant and aid to not-for-profit organizations. And this has not been taken into consideration when we have budget talks. And so for me, getting the information back about how we could maybe be streamlining this a little bit better for staff, because looking at this looks like absolutely time consuming. And so if we have staff doing this, it's not even just the cost of them doing this, it's the cost of the other work not getting done because they're busy doing this. And so I think that I would like to have a really frank conversation with our CAO when she has the opportunity to maybe dig into it a little bit deeper. But the other thing I would really like to see is that if we keep this policy in place, that these amounts are brought to us during budget time. Because if TR Minor Hockey comes to us for a grant and aid, I've not seen that this was part of it. So let's say we give them a $5,000 grant and aid, but we've already given them $20,000 through this. I think it's important that while we're doing these things, that comes back to council so that when we do our budget discussions, we're on top of it. So I don't know if that means a motion at this point, but I think that we need to do a lot more with this policy. So I would love to see it come back to a PPC meeting.
Okay, before I go to Councillor Hoffman, and I apologize, Councillor Hoffman, I am going to put a motion on the floor. That's why I shook my head. I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we move the sale of advertising policy and in a sale of advertising policy to upcoming PMP. Take a second. Or Councillor Julik, discussion. So I'll make a comment. The reason I've moved it to a PMP, I think we can have a little bit more open dialogue, a lot easier than staff get an opportunity to dig through it as well, but we have that opportunity to have a little bit more around the table, in-depth discussion. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. And the motion goes right along with where I was going with this anyways. The only thing I would ask is that staff have some ideas of how they would like to see the background change, because there's no real detail in the background of what tasks are going on and what's time consuming for them. And of course, I'm not going to tell them how to do it differently. So I would very much appreciate if staff, when that does come to a PNP, has some detailed input. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think the PMP gives us an opportunity to have that roundtable discussion, and staff gets to give their input from their side with a little bit less formality, I would say, and stuff, but it gives us a little bit more of around the table before we start giving some direction on what we're actually looking for clarity. So, okay, going to call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Clickash is opposed. Motion carries. Gate Fairground Dinosaur Wood Carving, report dated August 6, 2024, from the Facilities Manager regarding Fairground Dinosaur Wood Carving. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
That council approves, I'm going to move the alternative to the recommendation. The council approves the placement of a dinosaur wood carving on the fairgrounds property.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana. Discussion. Councillor Jilek.
Just so I can confirm, this will be something that stays at the fairgrounds, and the fairgrounds are ultimately property of the District of Tumbler Ridge. So in essence, this carving belongs to the District of Tumbler Ridge.
Correct.
Okay.
It's within their agreement, it states it.
Okay.
So it'll be something that carries on if they decide not to ever renew or such that it is the property of the DTR. Okay, any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, progress report on 2024 approved capital and special projects. Report dated August 6, 2024 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding progress report on the 2024 approved capital and special projects. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
The council received the council initiatives and capital projects report for information.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, status of the District of Tunbridge investments. Report dated August 6, 2024 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the status of the District of Tunbridge investments. Recommendation. Councillor Dussault.
That council receives the District of Tumbler Ridge investment report for information.
Seconder. Councillor Clickash. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. 2025 to 2029 financial plan direction. Report dated August 6, 2024 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding financial plan direction. Recommendation, please. Councillor Norbury.
I'd like to move this item for discussion, Mayor.
Okay. Seconder. Councillor Jilek. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I noticed your hesitation. You were kind of hoping for a recommendation there, but you know, for something like this, I was hoping to have a little bit of a discussion around council table, as I know if we want to go straight to a number, I have a number in my mind, but I think there's something that we should be discussing. Personally, I cannot support a 12% increase to our core budget again this year. I can't support a double-digit increase. So I think it's our responsibility to give clear direction to staff, and I really appreciate staff putting this in front of us because it helps give them direction on where they need to go with our budget deliberations, so we're not stuck in March, April saying, oh, I don't know what to do. So I think it's great that we're having a discussion now, but at this point in time, I can't support a double-digit tax increase again. We looked at Dawson Creek. When they had their spike in taxes one year, they came back with under 6, right? So I don't have a recommendation at this point. Just want to open it for discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I wasn't really looking for a recommendation, but I'm just, and I don't disagree with you. I can't support a 12% increase to the core budget for 2025. My only question to Ms. Scott would be, can we just send this back to staff? Sharpen your pencils, come back with a, you know, I mean, I could throw a number out there. I think Councillor Norbury's got a number. I see Councillor Noxana's got her button up. We can all come out with a number, but I mean, like, we need to be realistically here. You know, I'll be honest with you, I don't know all the ins and outs of certain items, but obviously there's a QP agreement. There's some concerns, obviously, with the 6.5% increase again with QP for 2025. I'm just curious from your side, is it easier for us to send it back, or would you rather us pick a number?
I think it would be more beneficial for staff when sharpening their pencils if they had an idea of the kind of number that council was looking for, so they would know how sharp to make those pencils.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. I'm in agreement that a 12% increase for our core budget is too high. I'd be looking at half that. So
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. We spent a lot of time on this not too long ago, and our tax rate is well below any comparison in the province. I think realistically, we're going to be around this for at least a couple more years to get to the point where our taxation is at least in the ballpark of the next lowest areas. I know it's not going to be a popular place to be, but if we don't increase it for the next couple of years at least, we're going to be arguing about percentage points every year going forward. We're going to need to spend more to maintain the same levels. The inflation's already happened, and I can appreciate 6. I can even appreciate 10.5. I get that it's not a popular thing to do, but in fact, to maintain service levels, 10.5. It's the second paragraph of background. That's the lowest I'd be willing to go if we're going to pick a number. So I appreciate that we had a real fun time last year, and I think we're going to go through it this year and probably next year as well. But to try to just artificially pick a number like 6.5, we have union contracts that are going to eat that up. You haven't even done anything else yet. You haven't even, if with 6%, you haven't even covered QP. So I would like to give the benefit of doubt and go with at the minimum 10.5, but that's my line.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Julik.
I don't want to pick a number at all. I feel like I don't have a good, even basic understanding of where we would start to cut. If we don't want to do 12%, and that's what our people are recommending to us, to me, that means we're in trouble. Like, we're in more trouble than I even have a full comprehension of. And so for me to even begin to support anything in this meeting, to me, is flabbergasting. I feel like we need to have a closed meeting to discuss all of the different parts of the budget, because it goes to land, labor, law stuff. Like, to me, this is something that we can absolutely discuss. But like, when I think about any other business, when you are running a deficit or you're into financial trouble, you got to start looking at your operations. And operations include staff. So that means that portion of that conversation has to happen in a closed. This isn't that I want to be quiet about this, but I think that if we're going to have the conversation here, I know as somebody of the public, I want to know what I'm looking at. Like, I want to have a general idea of what this looks like. We have an amazing community, and we have it look really nice, and we have our water and sewer. The biggest thing, in my opinion, is that people want to be able to turn on their water tap and get clean water. They want their sewer to go into the proper place. We want to have our community centers being run and stuff. So I think that this is a bigger conversation than a motion here in this meeting. And I don't know what that looks like, but I certainly want the opportunity to explore it a lot more than in this meeting, to look at all of our different options, to just tell staff to sharpen their pencil. So they sharpen their pencil and they come back to us with something we don't like. To me, that doesn't make any sense either, because I still don't know. They sharpen their pencil, but I still don't know where we're at. Like, I feel like I need a way more comprehensive report, whether it's verbal or written, to go forward.
Okay, thank you. So I was in and met with the CAO, make that well known in regards to the agenda review. We had this discussion about this. They need this direction. They need this direction to be able to go back and actually go through their budget, start looking for it before they start the budget process, so it can come before this council. So it's not about, let's get into a close to talk about labor and that. It's not that. They're looking for, if we're happy with 12%, they'll proceed on their budgets and do that. If we are not happy with that kind of an increase, I'm not saying that if I heard one councillor say 6%, I believe half of it or something. I'm not saying that. If we say, like, maybe we're comfortable around that 7.5% to 8.5%, I listen to Councillor Hoffman's comments as well. This gives direction back to our CAO to go work with their staff to come back to see here's your options. If we go from 12 to a 10, this is what happens. If you go from a 10 to an 8, this is what happens. If you go from an 8 to a 6, this is what happens. No, we don't like the 6. Really don't like the 7, but that 8.5 is looking pretty good. That's my understanding, and I'm going to get confirmation from our CAO. But that was a discussion we had, and it wasn't that she said, "Oh, you know, this is what you guys." She didn't give any direction that way. But this is my understanding is in our meeting was the direction that staff is looking for. Ms.
Yeah,
Scott?
that's correct. And especially because if we bring this back to you in our normal timeframe that we give for working on the budget, by the time we give that to you and this number is huge and council then is like, oh no, this is way too big, that doesn't give us enough time to go back and figure out what those other options are. So by giving some direction now, and whether, maybe it's not a hard number, but it's, you know, we would like you to look at trying to cut X percent or try to keep it within X percent, then that gives staff the time to work on that now before we get into that budget crunch.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I didn't want to speak on what was discussed, but that's my understanding. So they're looking for something so that they have something to go and actually start that process. With not giving them any direction, they're going to come back with this, and then we're going to be, I won't say in the same scenario as last year. I mean, I believe our CFO is back, and it'll be a little smoother. And you know, there is differences. No disrespect to the gentleman that helped us through our budget process, but he's not. He's a contractor. So it's a little different when we have a CFO that's doing it, and we have that opportunity to be able to get some depth answers with our CAO, and if she has to bring in a CFO, we have that opportunity, where last year we really didn't. But that's why staff's looking for this direction early, so they can proceed. Councillor Norbury, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So when we're setting service levels and overall budgets, that's absolutely an open discussion we can have. Right? Only if we can identify specifically a position that we're talking about, that's when it needs to go into close. And if we're talking about general overall budgets, we can absolutely have that discussion. I think it's also something to think about. Like, we're not even talking about sewer increases or utility increases. You know, we're looking at, we're talking about a percentage increase to our budget. We're not even talking about the other increases that people are going to see on their tax bills. You know, that's what I think about. You know, this is a very unfun part of the job, where we have to say to the people that we work with, because we're all a team, I honestly believe we're all a team, we have to say to the people that we work with that provide services to our community that maybe our community wants to see something different. Because when it comes down to it, our purpose is to determine service levels and will our community be okay with paying for it. I think at this point in time, our community would say, we got to look at a way to bring this down. I have no problem with taxation. I fully believe that we have to pay a subscription fee to life to have our roads, have our water. But at this point in time, if we're saying numbers, I'd like to see something between the 6 to 9 number. You know, I would like to see staff bring forward, you know, proposals on how we can, what services will look like at a 6%, 9%, 7.5%. Shoot it down the middle too. So that we can have those decisions, just kind of like how we did over the public works, the summer student positions, right? What would this look like? I think that was very illuminating to see what that would look like. Maybe we can find efficiencies in our organization just to cut some costs, right? But, you know, that's this is the unfun part of the job, but it is absolutely our responsibility to give that direction. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, this is just clarity. I think where my nervousness comes from is I was not confident in our last budget season. And so I appreciate Mayor Kakalka and Councillor Norbury giving me some clarity there. So what I'm understanding, this is a number because you guys are going to go back. So this is staff going to go back and say, okay, if we want to maintain where we're at, it's a 12% increase. And council is saying they are not going to go for a 12% increase. So they would like to see it more around this number. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah. Ms. Scott?
Yeah, and then staff could bring recommendations. So, you know, as the mayor had kind of said before, so if we want to keep the tax increase at 8%, this is where we were looking, we would have to cut in each of these departments, or these are, you know, this is where we could find potential savings in each of these departments to keep it at the 8%. It gives staff the opportunity to present that, or, you know, the 9% or the 10%, this is what it's looking at. It also gives each of those departments a chance to, you know, if they cannot find somewhere to find some savings, that it also gives them time to maybe look at alternative revenue sources. to be able to fund those services that they need.
Thank you for that. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I guess for me, I had really hoped that this budget season that we can maybe start this in October, so I'm really happy to see that this is coming here. Just so that we can have the questions around asset management. I was super excited to see the reports that we had in here. I thought they were really well done. The progress report on 9.6 and 9.7, those are really good pieces to have. And for me, I just feel like I really want to make sure that I have a full understanding of things. And I think that we need to make sure we give staff a lot of time for that. So thank you for the clarification. And I really hope that we can do things a little bit different. I don't want to throw a number out there. I honestly would like to see staff, like I'm not happy with 12%. I don't know what number I would be happy with because I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. Personally, you know, we take it down to 6, what does that look like, you know? And I hesitate to throw a number out there. Maybe it's about asking the staff that's the experts in it, what's our bare minimum? Like, to me, it'd be easier to say this is what our bare minimum is, and this is our big wish list. I don't know. I'm not a budget person, so I'll just leave that up to you guys. I won't throw a number and I'll stop talking.
Thank you. So I'll just rephrase what the CEO has said, and if I speak out of turn, Ms. Scott, please cut me off. Please tell us how much you want us to sharpen our pencil. We don't want to give you the number. We want you to give us the number. Ms. Scott, is that correct? So that's what they're looking for. I get it. It's a hard decision. Like, and I'm not saying pick a number. I mean, to me, you know, I'm not sure if Council Nombre has a recommendation, but it's time to get a recommendation on the floor, because if he doesn't, I do. But that they're looking for a, you know, give them a broad number, or pick a number, and they're going to come back with information. Then we make a decision then. But for staff, just to send it back to staff, to me, they're, you know, we got to give them the information they need. Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Clickash.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. You were correct. I have a motion ready. It's written down. I can hand it back to staff. I'll motion that we ask staff to bring back a report outlining implications to service levels at a taxation increase of 6, 7.5, and 9%.
Okay. Seconder. Councillor just so. Pardon me. Discussion. Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Clickash.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Sorry, staff, for making you do some more work to bring back a report, but I think it's appropriate. You know, we're having that discussion around, well, what does this actually look like? I think it's important. You know, during the last budget discussion, we had concerns from residents like, will my garbage get picked up if I don't pay for these summer students, right? Or if we don't have tax increases. I think it's good for us. A lot of work for staff. I apologize. But we got to give them a number. And hey, you know, if this is too much for us in our community, I think this is an opportunity for us to show our community, you know, hey guys, we want a lower tax increase. This is what we're going to lose. And then we can say, okay, maybe 9 is too little of a tax increase, and we can make that decision at that time. But for me, I really need to see some more information, and this, I hope, is enough to get us back enough information to kind of make some decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. I got Councillor Clickash to myself. Councillor Clickash?
I just don't know how that sharpening that pencil is going to work on the stock market and what's happening like today, the other day, and what's going to happen in the future. And if you think that 12% is high, well, maybe it's going to be a hell of a lot higher than that. Because we don't know, and we're asking staff to do something that I don't think they're capable of doing, because they can't predict these things, eh? And so we got some money invested for 5%, but that could go down to 2.5 or 3 within, you know, a few weeks.
All good?
That's it.
Thank you. So thanks for putting a motion on there, Councillor Norbury. I'm not sure if can support looking for reports. To me, they're looking for a budget mandate, not for 3 different reports come forward in regards to a 6.5, a 7, and such. I think they're, you know, to me, if we want to border the number between 6.5 and 9 and have them bring that and start working on that process, but to me, for them to start bringing reports back, they need to start working on their budget. To me, that motion's asking for a report what this would look like, not having them start their work. That's my understanding of it, of asking for those reports. They're going to give us a report back. It's going to spend a bunch of time, and then we're gonna send them back. To me, they're looking for, my understanding is, like, I'm not saying pick a direct number, but like, I like the broad that you gave, but maybe we're not looking for a report. This is what we're looking for from a 6, and I believe, my understanding when I met to make sure I had the information I needed, was they will look at the whole thing. Hey, if we were to do this, our cost savings in this department, we could save by doing it this way and that way. But over here, we can't do it here, but this is what we can do over here. Here's our total budget. That's my understanding. Ms. Scott?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So that'd be my only concern about reports. We're asking for an actual report. I can't put a time to like dictate that it's gonna take 2 weeks for them to bring these reports forward, but we're looking for 3 different reports. Instead of here, start working on the process. I mean, maybe that's not what you meant, I'm not sure, but that's, maybe it needs some clarity. I'll go to Councillor Hoffman, then I'll go to Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I just remember a process on how little we wanted to cut when we were going from project to project. If I just trust the staff, if this is what they say they need to maintain the service level, and I appreciate the 1.5% for that 380,000 from the funds, the general funds that we moved over. I don't want to cut services. Like, that's bottom line for me. The town's really nice. We want to grow. It needs to stay nice. We're not going to ever have a developer come in and build if we're at the bottom edge in any sense of the word. So I would like Tumbler Ridge to be here 20 years from now. And to me, that means we need to grow, and that means we need to invest in our community, period. So with Councillor Norbury's numbers or report or whatever it is, I'm not going below 10.5 today. So I appreciate, Councillor Norbury, that you're trying to be fiscally responsible. I get that. And I just think this is a time and an era where we're going to have to spend more to maintain the levels that we had. It's just a given for the next few years. And that's where I'm at. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to vote against the motion on the floor, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Councillor Julik?
I appreciate, Mayor Kakauka, your comments in regards to the reports and looking for clarification from Councillor Norbury if that's what he's looking for. I would agree that we're not at a report stage. This is, yeah, I absolutely understood where you were at, and if I would be able to agree on a maximum. I think it makes more sense to say I would like to see the absolute max be 9% increase and have staff work a mandate around that. That would, not that that's my number, just that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury, would you be so kind to give clarity on, I didn't want to speak on behalf of what your motion was, so.
Fair enough. You know, I'm looking for a report because we were just talking about what does it actually look like. You know, I think we all make valid points. It's hard to make a decision on what service levels would look like at different levels. I would like to see a report. I can appreciate, like, yeah, it's going to be onerous, but at the same time, what if we're out to lunch by just picking a number, right? I'd like to see a report to really see what this would look like. Maybe we're out to lunch, but by choosing a number, I think that's too much. I really like to see some information about how this would affect our service levels before we just choose a number. That's just where I'm at. And I can't think of any other way that we can go through this process without having good information. I mean, if somebody's able to propose another avenue, I'd be open to listening to that, yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, if we can just maybe give us a brief discussion, but my understanding of this is staff will constantly be coming back with, like, once this, you know, whether it's the reports or if that's defeating, we come out with a different concept. But my understanding is you guys will continue, we'll start your process, but then we'll be getting that information back on a regular basis of what it looks like, not just 2 months from now, here's what the budget is. We've, you know, my understanding, that's not even about cutting services. It might be no cutting of services. It might be just a way of saving money elsewhere. I mean, staff has to have that opportunity to look at it. That's my understanding, but Ms. Scott?
Yeah, and I think something that may assist council, I know that the Chief Financial Officer may be able to provide you some more insight and some more detail into what we're looking for or what council can expect. If you want to give the Chief Financial Officer the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. When you come up with a number,
we have to go back and develop the whole budget. So when you come up with 3 numbers, we're coming up with 3 budgets, and we can't decide on what those service levels will be reduced until we've done a whole budget and then the whole review. So the process is what we're looking for is a number now that council feels comfortable with. So staff are developing a budget based on where the comfort level of council is. Realizing that, yes, we have given an idea of what we feel is the bottom line, and if it's lower than that, staff will be bringing back service cuts. And that this is also making council aware that there will be service cuts and there will not be the additions. But it also means that council needs to be prepared when we come forward. We're also going to look at council's budget. You'll have time to discuss yours, the fee for service, all of those things as well, because those will all be areas to be looked at as well, not just the other departments' areas. But unfortunately, if you wanted a report right up front to say where it would be cut, we won't know that until we actually go through the process. And the CIO and myself sit down with the directors and review their budgets and have those discussions. So that's where it's a benefit of a maximum amount. We will build the budget to the number where council's comfortable.
Thank you. Councillor Julick and then Councillor Norbury.
I appreciate that feedback, and I feel like we need a survey monkey at this point. We can all vote for what number we want. So with that information, I won't support the motion that's on the floor. I would like to, I would make a motion for a specific number myself, but that's where I'm at with this motion that's on the floor.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, McCalkin. Thank you, Ms. Weiner, for that explanation. Yeah, I can appreciate that. It's too onerous of a task to make 3 budgets. So yeah, I think it's appropriate to defeat this motion at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, so the motion is on the floor is looking for 3 different reports in regards to budget numbers that were presented. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? All of council and the mayor are opposed. Motion is defeated. Okay. And we have another motion, Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. So I'm still holding at the 6%. I don't have a motion. I need a minute to write one down. But I'd just like to point out that this is a core 12% raise. This doesn't include, this is what we have in front of us, it doesn't include our capital and special projects. It doesn't include our fee for service. So when we're talking a 12% raise, I believe that number would be a lot higher in reality. So what we can cut out now will make a huge impact in what needs to be cut down the road.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury, and then myself.
Thank you, Mayor Kiyaka. I'll make a motion that council approve a budget mandate of 6% increase for the 2025 core budget.
Okay, take a seconder. Councillor Noxana, discussion. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'll support the motion on the floor. Sorry, it's been a long meeting. We can always add services in after this if we feel that too much has been cut. It's way harder to go back and do it the other way and say we want to cut more and find out savings where we can. So supporting the 6%.
Thank you. So I appreciate the motion on the floor. I will not be supporting the motion on the floor. Alone, the QP wage agreement that was voted on by council and not debated properly, in my opinion, is a 6.5%. And then their wage increase as well. Or sorry, their benefit increase. So I can't support that. I mean, I think that's realistically, we're going to be back at square one here. Once we see one budget, we're going to see a second budget and then a third budget. I think we have to have a realistic number, so I apologize to council, but I can't support it. I got Councillor Julick and Councillor Hoffman.
Yeah, I won't be supporting the motion on the floor. I think that it's unrealistic. I think that when I see the debate and when I remember the debating that we did for the increase we had last year, or this budget, and that in order to maintain what we have now is 12%, I think that number needs to be higher. And while I've got the mic, can you clarify, or can I get clarification? The 12% would be to keep everything the way it is now, including council's budget, or this 12% would only be for operations right now?
Core budget. Ms. Scott.
Okay.
That's correct, core budget.
Thank you. I got Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually appreciate Councillor Noxana's point on that this is just operations. which is why I'm back to my 12% instead of my 10.5. I think half of that being taken up by roughly by QP and nothing else. I think I would much rather look at capital expenditures as a place to cut. Maybe defer a larger scale project or scale back projects would be a better place to cut. And I have no problem with this budget at 12%. I can't support cutting half the increase.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So the motion on the floor is a 6% increase for 2025 for core budget. Going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Desault, Councillor Clickash, Councillor Julick, Councillor Hoffman, Councillor Norberry, Mayor Kalker opposed. Motion is defeated. Councillor Julick.
With taking Councillor Noxana's point into consideration, I would like to make a motion that we do a mandate at 9%.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Norberry. Discussion. Councillor Norberry.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. We've got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere, throw a number out of 6. Realistically, maybe this is the world that we're going to be living in, where not 6, 7, 8% increases are normal, right? Pre-COVID, we'd see 3 to 5. 3 to 5. 9 would be my absolute maximum, in my opinion. Like, we talk about service levels, I can appreciate that, but I also think about, how inflation has hit our community, how it's hit all of our people. You speak with people who've moved here to retire, and their tax bills have gone up 10% last year. Okay, so what are their options now? 10% less food? That's it. And so that's where I'm coming from. I can appreciate, I am a firm believer of paying people what they're worth. If we don't keep up with inflation, we're taking a decrease, but we have to think about where this is coming from. It's not just coming from us, who, we have a second job, we may have 2 jobs. We're also advocating for the people in this community that are on fixed incomes. Inflation's hitting them hard. 9 is my absolute maximum. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll make a couple comments. Support the motion on the floor. I was right close to that. I was at an 8.5, so I will fully support the 9%, and then we can have a look at it. Stuff will come forward, and I'll be honest, council needs to make sure as budget process comes through that we're having good debates and realizing some of the decisions we make will affect this budget going forward. Whether that's fee for service, grant and aids, all the other stuff that we've had those discussions about in 2024. It's not only just staff stuff, and to me, I am not in regards to always these service cuts. There's other ways of doing it. So this is going to be council's tough year, and I think we have to be realistic when we're going through this budget and make sure that we have a good debate. And if I'll be honest, if I'm sitting in the chair and stuff, and we don't think we're having a good enough debate, let's make sure that meeting that question keeps going, and so we can make sure everybody has an opportunity to debate it. But I will support the motion on the floor of 9%. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to call a question on the motion, and the motion is to have a budget mandate of a 9% increase for the 2025 core budget. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Clickash and Councillor Hoffman are opposed. Motion carries. Okay, 9.9 Community Works Fund Agreement 2024 to 2034. Report dated August 6, 2024 from the Chief Administrator Officer regarding Community Works Fund Agreement 2024 to 2034. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That council authorizes the District of Tumbler Ridge to enter into the Community Works Fund Agreement 2024 to 2034, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to sign this agreement.
Seconder. Councillor Julick, sorry. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Schedule of meetings. Councillor Noxana.
Seeing as the I believe it's the 16th meeting, falls on a Monday the 16th. A lot of us will be at UBCM. I'm wondering if that should be rescheduled or canceled.
Put a motion forward to other reschedule for the 23rd of council. Motion on the floor. Councillor, move it, whatever you decide.
I'm not, well, it's not a motion yet, so.
Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that we move the regular council meeting for September 16th to September 23rd. Seconder, Councillor Julick, discussion. Councillor Knoxa.
I'm just not back in town by that date, but, so didn't want a motion that we hold a meeting on a day I'm not in town and not able to Zoom in. However, recognize that if that works for everyone else, that's fine.
Appreciate it, apologize, but that's, if you would have been the first one to make it, you could have picked the date. Sorry, but that's how it works. Any other discussion in regards to moving the meeting? Is there a different day that works for you, 24th? Is it a bad thing about moving it along further? It makes it harder for the next agenda, so that's the only reason. The next week? Okay, yeah. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Anything else in regards to schedule of meetings? Okay. Any notice of motions? Okay, Councillor Business, thanks to Councillor Norbury, Councillor Oksana, and Councillor Julick. Anything from the floor? Councillor Dussault.
Yes, I attended West Moberly Days with Councillor Julick. It was a fun time, really enjoyed the Pujisi games. Yeah, it was a really great day. So, and lots of runners coming in that day, and yeah, great food. It was a good time.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, anything else from the floor? If we keep these short, we have a very big agenda. Councillor.
Yeah, West Mo Days was awesome. The Soto Cultural Center, that was a really great opportunity as well. So I just really appreciate being able to go to those things as a town councillor. So I appreciate those things coming forward to us as staff receives them. So thanks.
Thank you. Any other councillor business? I'll do all my councillor and mayor stuff at the next meeting, just because of our agenda. Okay. Any questions that have come in, Ms. Scott?
No.
Thank you. Take a resolution to close, please. Councillor Julick.
That the August 6, 2024 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to section 91C, J, and K of the Community Charter to permit discussions about C, labor relations or other employee relations, E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of the council would reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public.
Seconder, Councillor Oksana, all in favor? Carried. 5-minute recess.